In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look again at major cold air compared to what's normal at least, moving into the central and eastern United States for an extended period of time. Now, the only good piece of news and the only difference from the last few videos that I have to tell you about this feature at least is that we do expect and we do see at least somewhat of a shakeup in this warm in the west, cold in the east pattern towards the beginning of June on this model run. That could, of course, change. That could get pushed back. It could creep forward, but typically things like this, when they're popping up in the long range, get pushed back, if anything. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but it does look very cool for a long time. We do have a couple of days of maybe some severe weather expected, but we do expect that to slow down overall. But thunderstorms and overall heavy rainfall can be anticipated along the Gulf Coast into the southeast area, as I've been predicting for a few days, and the model is finally in really good agreement with that. So let's dive into things and take a look at it. Here's the temperatures, and we can already see some of these cooler temperatures intruding. But when we look out west, we have some warmth here along the immediate southwest, but there is plenty of cold surrounding that area. So this PNA is in no means positive yet. It's more negative probably, if anything. So this cold air isn't able to dive far enough southward. We do see a little bit of a southeast ridge, but this is gonna really just get demolished really quickly. As we take a look at the weekend, this is Friday the 23rd. This warm air mass is becoming larger, and we see this cooler air mass in the east as a result is diving further southward, and it is very intense. We mentioned this in the last few videos, but the blues are 1 to 10 degrees below normal. The greens are 10 to 15, and then those purplish blues are 15 to 25 degrees below normal. So we are seeing massive departures from what's typical in here. The 15 to 25, especially being on the upper end, especially for this time of year. Typically, you see more mild cool downs in the late spring, summertime, but this is an intense example of one. As we get further into the weekend, this is Memorial Day here. We can see a full-blown positive PNA taking hold out west, where we see warmth surging from the southwest of the United States up through the northwest of the United States and into western Canada. Just a really strong hold there. By the way, the positive PNA literally just means warmer temperatures along western North America, so that's always what we're looking for. And you can see as a result, I mean, this causes cold air to move into the southern plains, a lot of the Midwest, the east here, especially the northeast, by Memorial Day, which is super disappointing. Last year, I can remember Memorial Day was hot and beautiful. Does not look that way this year at all. As we continue forward, we see that pattern wants to just persist, but something starts to happen right around May 29th here. We see this cool air mass over Western Canada starts to expand, and you're going to see it kind of spread southward over a lot of the northwestern United States here. It's going to happen slowly, but it does start to creep in. And that's kind of the beginning signs of these changes. We do see the positive PNA try to make a comeback briefly here, but the temperatures in the east are kind of neutral here by this early June time frame, not necessarily super cold. And then we do see the cold beginning to take over by, June 4th and 5th out west. And we do see a lot more warmth happening here in the east. So perhaps right around the change from May to June, we could be seeing a return of the hot air to the central and eastern United States, which would be very fitting to happen around that, end of May, early June timeframe. Time will tell, of course. It still is the very long range when we see this change happening, so I'm not fully confident yet, and I don't think you should be either. But I think we're getting closer and closer to some sort of conclusion. So if it gets pushed back a little bit, that'll become obvious, but it is going to be happening at some point within a 10-day period of the start of June. So whether that's June 1st, 5th, or 10th, something in there is when we're going to see this pattern finally break up. Looking at the precipitation, we do again. I'll take us towards kind of this afternoon time frame, kind of actually or late morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. But we do see thunderstorms possible for this Gulf Coast, southeast area, even up into the Mid-Atlantic throughout the day today. As we just advance forward, we see that low pushes through and actually becomes a nor'easter, where we're getting some snowfall for the Adirondack and White Mountains there, the highest of the elevations there in the northeast. So a very intense nor'easter kind of matching up with this cold. Very, very interesting. And your jet stream is clearly a trough in the east by this point. We can see this ridge building out west. As we keep going, I've talked about this for a couple of days if you guys have been paying attention, but I think that the kind of south central, Gulf Coast, and southeast areas are going to be the regions to watch for an increase in activity and precipitation overall during this upcoming pattern that we've been looking at. And the models have shown it further to the north than you would expect, something like this, but they've really slipped down today. So let's watch and see. Thunderstorms are probably very active in there, but there is no organized system. There could be a severe weather threat, but typically you want to see, or I guess I should say you don't want to see a low with a strong cold front and a strong warm front look. Very, very dynamic with a lot of usually being on the front end of a trough like that is going to add a lot of potential to a system. Obviously, this is a very not so dynamic system. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and look at where the precipitation just lingers. The Gulf Coast, southeast area, this is June 1st. Continuing to see that area just flourish. Even the southeast by June 5th, still seeing precipitation. But as this pattern breaks up, you can see some lows are starting to develop more over the central states, which could bring a new round of potential activity and more major severe weather activity. But for now, we get a breather. We get to just take a break, which is really, really awesome after the amount of severe weather we've seen recently. Total precipitation reflects exactly what I was just talking about. This area here being probably the highest. You could probably include Missouri and Kansas in that, but something like this is the area. And it makes sense. You get your jet stream ridging here and troughing and moving straight through this area. And the storms like to follow these jet streams. So we get these little weak low pressure systems moving across and really sticking around this jet stream in this area. And that is why we're seeing so much activity in there. Typically, you see a little bit less activity when it's that far. You know, we don't see as much up here because it's so far from the jet stream. There's nothing to really steer it in. When we look at the anomalies, again, very above average throughout all of these areas. Pretty neutral out west. Nothing too crazy. And then for these upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley areas, we are pretty far below normal as far as precipitation is concerned. Now, looking at the Storm Prediction Center outlooks, it's a little messy. Like, we have a lot of details here for today. This is day one. We have 2 general thunderstorm risk areas in the lighter greens where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible, so heed every watch, warning, and advisory. As of now, it's 7:43 a.m. when I'm making this video. We have 5 marginal risk areas in the darker greens, and that is where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. And then we have 2 slight risk areas, one there for some of the lower Midwest, and then one there over coastal North Carolina. Those 2 areas are where we expect more scattered about severe weather to be possible today on Wednesday the 21st. Day 2, we have 2 general thunderstorm risk areas and 2 marginal risk areas. Pretty easy. Finally, day 3, which will be Friday the 23rd. Same thing, 2 general thunderstorm risk areas and 2 marginal risk areas. Obviously, this is a huge break from what we've been dealing with, which is almost daily slight risks, enhanced risks, even multiple moderate risks. It has been just really high end every single day. So to see some general thunderstorm risk days and marginal risk days is going to feel like a huge just break for all of us to kind of debrief, recover for those of you that have been impacted. And of course, you know, just get ready because there's probably going to be more for the summertime as there always is. And also the hurricane season, which I'm still very questionable about. I'm still waiting to see my thoughts on that. I don't see it being a crazy hurricane season as of now. We shall see. I'll talk more about that coming up soon. I don't know why I just went on that spiel, but anyway, I upload every single day. Be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.